Wow. That is a lot of
It
apples.
shows how many we have.
Thank you very much for coming in. It's great to have you
See you,
here.
Rick.
Some cider. Look at this. My kids will be in their glory.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to ask this because you said it shows how many you have. How many different kinds of apples do you have?
About 20.
20 different kinds of
20.
apples.
So there are 3 that are all done. There are 3 still to come, but we are picking about 17 right now.
17 different kinds of apples.
Yeah.
So give us some examples of what some of those 17 are.
Well, this is the one that we
Look at the
had
size of that
huge
apple.
abundance. This is a Honeycrisp,
Okay.
and this is a McCowan. Lots of people like them because they're crispy.
Yep.
We have Crispin apples, which are a great all-purpose pie apple.
Okay.
We have Red Delicious
That's my favorite right there.
and Golden Delicious,
My
which is
gosh.
in here.
Right there. This one's Golden Delicious.
Golden, and Gala. A lot of people like Gala, a lot of kids like Gala. This
Yeah.
is a Northern Spy, which is an antique apple. Lots of people like to store it in their root cellars for, long-term winter storage
So what-
and make pies out of it.
What's an antique apple? Is that
Oh,
the
they
apple that you
say
can
that-
store?
They call them, it's sort of like a term for heirloom varieties. So they're varieties that were seeded out and were some of the ones that newer varieties were made from. Not done in a lab, that kind of thing. Not like cross-pollinated on purpose.
Okay.
They're ones that, they just kind of formed. And
So how old is the orchard? How long has it been there?
so my husband's grandparents were married in the summer of 1930.
Wow.
And they planted the first trees in 1931.
Nice.
So they started early, and they were mostly a wholesale orchard. John loved growing. He was a great horticulturalist. Loved to experiment. We find little things on the farm where he experimented, grafting trees or
Really?
combining branches up in the maples to make them more stable.
Was he originally
Really
from Rhode Island?
Yeah,
So originally from Rhode Island. So 1931 they planted the first trees.
yeah.
And how big is it?
It started out to be about 10 acres, and now we have about 60, but we cultivate only about 25 on the
Okay.
farm, and then we rent 5 more acres.
No, is that rented to other farmers that are out there, or?
We rent from other landowners for sweet corn and pumpkin land.
Nice.
We have a lot of hilly terrain, and so not all of it is conducive to farming.
So all over the 17, well, so there's 20 total, 20 different
That's
varietals
what-
growing.
That's what we have.
That's the 20. So besides the apples, what else are you growing on the property?
So we have peaches, nectarines. We grow lots of berries now. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, sweet corn, tomatoes, zucchini, some eggplant. Didn't do great this year. And we just planted asparagus, which is a spring crop for when we do our winter farmers markets and we want to end off with something that's fresh. We have asparagus.
Awesome. Okay, so I was just explaining that I was an asparagus fan, so now I got 2 places I got to go check out to find this. So that's a lot of that you have there, but it started with the apples.
Started with apples, so John and Hazel planted the apple trees and peach trees.
Okay.
And they had a few pear trees. And then they were mostly wholesale, like I was saying, until about 1970, and that's when Pick Your Own opened up.
Yeah.
Lots of farms started that then as more of a retail outlet. Wholesale market was not doing great at the time, so they were able to, make a little bit more from the retail dollar.
So now that you have both, and I was speaking about this earlier about the sustainability, the farm to table has grown and grown over the last few years. It seems like it's maybe 3-4 years old, but in the last 1 or 2, it's really exploded. And the chefs have kind of influenced the consumers as to what to bring to their tables from what they're producing in the restaurants. Do you have a lot of partners? I know that Farm Fresh is a giant partner that's there for the state and does a fantastic job in promoting all of you together, but them as a resource is fantastic. Has that helped you to grow this business from the wholesale perspective and get it larger?
It's been a piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
It's been a great piece of the wholesale puzzle because they have a website, and the website combines all of the participating farms and vendors, and they can combine all of the ordering into one. If a restaurant wants 8 different items, instead of going to a distributor that carries the 8 different items, they can patronize 8 different farms or 8 different vendors and still have it delivered in one delivery. So it's called Market Mobile.
Okay.
And we've been involved since the beginning, and it's really helped get our product into the restaurants where we probably wouldn't have otherwise.
So that
sold there.
distribution seems to always be the key when you're the farmers, how it's going to get to them.
Right.
As opposed to them. So as opposed to the guests or the consumers that are coming out to the farm, I mean, I know people that were just at your place this past weekend for the holiday weekend that were out there and said it was jammed. You were packed, I think it was Saturday, I think they said they were there, and it was jam-packed, right?
Yes.
So how long does this season, how long will this last that people can come out to be picking these on their own?
It really is dictated, as a lot of farming is, by the weather.
Okay.
When we get a 23-degree night, most of the apples get frozen and they get mushy. So
Okay.
that dictates when the season's over. But we've had, I was just telling a lady in the back that we had these apples on the trees until December one year.
Really?
Where we had freezes, but not quite as cold as 23, but we were picking them in December and they were still great.
So, and right now the temperatures have been fantastic.
Right.
I mean, it's.
Right.
it
They
was just-
usually are now.
Yeah, it was what, about 80 degrees the other day. That didn't hurt for people to come out there and do it. So now, when you can't use them there, they're going in here?
That's right.
Okay, so I need an education on this because my kids always tell me, don't worry what's on the ground, it's going in our apple cider. So I think they've learned about this in school better than I ever have.
Yeah.
So how many, is there different kinds of cider or no?
The only difference is that week to week, sometimes the proportion of the different kinds of apples change.
Okay.
So you may get some weeks with more Honeycrisp, or some with more Gala, or some with more Macintosh. As the season goes on and the flavor of the apples change, like Macintosh goes from really tart to a little more sweet,
Okay.
more kind of mellow aromatic flavor, that is reflected in the cider as well. So later in the season, sometimes that's why when the cider has the most flavor. Early on, it's great. We have a lot of Honeycrisp that are coming off the trees then, and
Right.
it's sweet. It's more like a juice,
Okay.
and it's more cidery as the season goes on.
This stuff gets addicting, and I could drink it all year round, that's the problem with it. So we covered kind of the apples, we talked about that and the growth and the history behind it. Is there things that you guys are looking to expand in the future, things that you want to add to the farm?
Well,
Well, see, then we get some news there. There's a well, I like those wells. All right.
in 1990, my husband added pumpkins and squash, and that really took off. They added the Hayrides. His daughter, who's now involved in the farm,
Okay.
and his son is involved as well, and our son is, our 14-year-old's also involved, but they're old,
So we're
older.
going to come back to this, a family affair.
And it's, well, it's a family farm now. It always was, but now they're involved as well. So they added that, and now his daughter, Stacy, is doing pumpkin painting events.
Really?
So she's starting to add a little bit of a nuance to what we offer at the
And
farm.
so is that going on now, that just started?
She has sign-ups, and so this is our first.
All right, we're
Our
going to
first
promote
dabble
this for
into
you.
this.
Pumpkin painting event. That's very awesome, though. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, so good. We actually got some good news to put out there to promote.
Yeah, we should be offering hayrides over the next couple of weeks, free hayrides, because lots of the Columbus Day craziness is over,
Right.
and now we're sort of getting into a little different rhythm. It's a little slower. We like to get people out to the farm to realize that they can still pick even after Columbus Day weekend.
Absolutely, especially with the weather, like we said, being so great. So we got the hay rides, we got the pumpkin painting, which I think is a fantastic thing. What do you guys, is the farm stand for you? How long is that open for?
So we open that at the end of July. We're open 9 to 6 during the week and 9 to 5 on the weekends.
Okay.
Then we are open all the way till Thanksgiving, and depending on how long the picking is that's sort of a different set of hours.
Okay.
But once we get into November, it'll be 10 to 4 probably every day. But we'll be open every day till
So
Thanksgiving.
you mentioned your children that are now working on it, and I was talking about this with Jonathan from Confreda, who was one of my first guests, is that I read recently, and I think I believe it was in Edible Roadie that I saw this, about URI and the sustainability programs and the farm programs that URI is doing. Your children, is this something that they wanted to get into because they saw you doing it, or they found it interesting? And do you find that that's growing again, the ability to bring these people in that want to help expand the farms?
Well, I think that
Because I wanted to get out of it. When I was done, I wanted to get out of there. So.
I think the traditional farming, where really you were just growing for wholesale, it was a different lifestyle. It was different set of skills. We have we have Facebook pages and Instagram.
And they do, they were on both, because I got them on both, so I know they're on
There's a
both.
lot of opportunity for growth in that aspect. We have machinery and buildings and, even the cider equipment is a little bit more high-tech than it was. We have
So a lot of
the
advancements.
ultraviolet treated cider,
Okay.
which means it's not pasteurized, not raw, but it was treated with ultraviolet light. So that machine needs to be run and needs to be figured out. So they bring a lot to the table, bringing the farm, I think, forward
The progress
in a
of it.
different way. And because we're appealing more to the retail, more, we have direct contact with all of our a lot of our customers.
Right.
Not all, but most of them, and there is there's a certain marketing and there's an expectation that you are progressing
So,
into different ways of doing things.
with that expectation, and a lot of it is technology driven, like you just said, so the marketing side with social media, the ultraviolet being treated onto this, is there things that you think that you'll be able to grow in the future that you aren't growing now, or that you'd like to see grow on the farm?
That's a good question.
I have one of those every now and then.
I've been involved for almost 20 years, and I've seen it go from, a certain number of crops to more crops, and I don't know, I might leave that to the next generation.
The next generation to figure out what goes up.
But, my husband he's great at growing. He knows how to grow things. He's very skilled. He's a great timing executor. He knows how to grow and when you need to do things. And, we'll be taking that, into the future too. So hopefully,
Right.
somebody can learn the skill set, but it takes a long time.
To learn that, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that knowledge, and it drove from the family, of being there since the 1930s, you said.
Mm.
That knowledge, do you guys have groups that come out from either the universities or school tours or that type of thing that come to the farm on a regular basis?
Mhm. The university, we have Heather Folbert from URI
From URI.
Cooperative Extension, and she helps us with the pest management. She works with UMass and Cornell, and they all help us to use the technology out there to figure out when pests are around and when they're done and when we don't need to spray for things, or when the management needs to change, what's new out there. It's another piece of the growing that helps us. We have some school groups that come out, but again, maybe my stepdaughter Stacy she'll help us with the group tours more.
But these partnerships, I mean, there's a lot when it comes to farms, and I think that a lot of people don't realize is beyond the massive amount of things that you can produce and that we can be thankful for, is that there's a lot that goes into the operational aspect of maintaining them. And without partnerships with people from like URI, you don't know where you would be with certain crops. And then also, like we talked about Farm Fresh earlier, and we talked about the different marketing things that are out there, but all of those things I have to believe are helping propel you to the future and increasing the ability for the farm to grow.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of partners that work together. It's you're right, it's a lot of pieces.
So over the next couple of weeks, getting prepared for Thanksgiving, which I can't believe I'm saying that already, just being depressed that I had to close my pool today. So what should we see, or what can we expect that people come down beyond the picking? What can they come and get that you guys have prepared, or that they should plan to get their holidays?
Lots.
I like the lots. Pumpkins?
Lots of pumpkins,
Okay.
lots of squash. We'll have gallons of cider.
Awesome. So people can get these things and prepare for Thanksgiving now.
Right.
Awesome. Okay.
That's right.
Well, as if this wasn't enough to drag you down there, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot to learn. So really appreciate you taking the time to come and see us today. This is fantastic.
Great.
I'm going to be eating an apple as soon as I get off the air. This is a lot.